Okay, before we get to my ratings, a quick summary of the rule of thumb I followed. The ratings aren't just based on how each guy has performed in his first 5 years. It accounts for when the player was taken and where the player was at after his 5th season. I know none of that will deter you from thinking I'm completely off, but hey, that's what the comment section is for, right? Alright, with that said, let's jump into it.
With the first pick in the 2015 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Jameis Winston, quarterback, Florida State.
2 stars. It's not that Winston was a complete bust over his first 5 years, and had he been drafted later in the round, his rating would have been higher. But Winston's first 5 seasons can safely be described as a roller coaster, because there have been plenty of ups. He threw for over 5,000 yards in 2019, leading the league, and he broke the 30-touchdown pass barrier for the first time in his career.
Winston goes deep and throws a beautiful rainbow pass.
But he also had plenty of downs, as evidenced by him being the first quarterback to ever throw for 30 touchdowns in a season, while also throwing 30 interceptions in that same season.
And Jameis Winston throws his 30th interception on the first play of overtime.
It's not like the Bucs whiffed on another quarterback, as this draft didn't produce any of note. But Winston's play in his first 5 seasons doesn't come close to justifying being taken first.
With the second pick, the Tennessee Titans select Marcus Mariota.
2 stars. Much like Winston, Mariota addressed a significant need for the Titans, but never came close to living up to his status as the 2nd overall pick. Injuries hampered Mariota throughout much of his time in Nashville, but inadequacy is what ultimately did him in, as evidenced by his midseason benching in 2019. Ryan Tannehill's success, and Mariota's 11 sacks taken in a game in 2018.
11 sacks by Baltimore today on Tennessee quarterback Marcus Mariota.
Should tell you everything you need to know about the former Heisman winner's career as a Titan.
With the third pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Dante Fowler Jr.
3.5 stars. Fowler is a talented edge rusher in today's NFL, and while he's not the caliber of the 3rd overall pick, much of his slow build to his current state has to do with his time wasted in Jacksonville. It began with a season-ending ACL injury in his first practice as a rookie, then continued with some off-field issues. He recorded just 14 sacks in 39 games played as a Jaguar before they sent him packing to Los Angeles.
Dante Fowler arriving at the quarterback again.
That is when things started to turn for the better for Fowler, who has recorded 13.5 sacks and 3 forced fumbles in 24 games as a Ram.
With the 4th pick, the Oakland Raiders select Amari Cooper.
4.5 stars. Tyler Lockett has made a strong case for best receiver in this class, but Cooper proved the Raiders right with this pick with consecutive 1,000-yard seasons in his first 2 campaigns.
Cuts inside 10, 5, touchdown!
The knock is more on the Raiders for not maximizing his talents in his final season and a half in Oakland. Even then, the Raiders still managed to get an excellent return for Cooper, a first-round pick from Dallas at the trade deadline.
With the 5th pick, the Washington Redskins select Brandon Scherff.
5 stars. The Redskins nailed this pick, plain and simple. The former Big Ten Offensive Lineman of the Year has made the Pro Bowl 3 times in his 5-year career and stands to receive a big payday this offseason. He's earned his inbound Brinks truck, and though the regime has since changed in the nation's capital, Washington still deserves all the credit for this selection.
With the 6th pick, the New York Jets select Leonard Williams.
2.5 stars. Williams wasn't awful, but he definitely wasn't the game-changing defensive lineman the Jets thought they'd be getting when they nabbed him out of USC.
Under pressure and sacked by Leonard Williams.
Looking back, the Jets would have been better served to address their offensive line or receiver instead of picking at that position that was already more of a strength than others. Williams has been adequate, but wasn't worth keeping around through the end of his rookie contract, as New York dealt him to the other tenant in their home stadium, the Giants.
With the 7th pick, the Chicago Bears select Kevin White.
0 stars. Yes, this gets the lowest rating possible for the Bears, who needed a receiver at the time, but swung and missed dramatically. White struggled with injuries throughout his short-lived career, and while his college film flashed potential for a big play star in the NFL, he caught just 25 passes for 285 yards in his 3 active seasons. Bears fans cringe when they hear his name, and rightfully so, especially when considering who else could have been had. Guys, we'll show you after we get through the rating of the rest of the first round.
With the 8th pick, the Atlanta Falcons select Vic Beasley.
3 stars. Beasley grew into an impact player by his second season, earning first-team All-Pro honors in 2016 as part of a Falcons team that reached Super Bowl 51.
A sack, a strip, a recovery, and a score.
After racking up 15.5 sacks in 2016, it has taken Beasley 3 seasons to surpass that mark with a combined sack total of 18 from 2017 to 2019. He's not seen as the franchise player he may have once been projected to be, but the Falcons still deserve some credit for this pick, even if his peak might already be in his rearview mirror.
With the 9th pick, the New York Giants select Erik Flowers.
1/2 of a star. The Giants get credit for attempting to address a need at tackle with Flowers, but nothing more, as he was essentially a bust from the outset of his NFL career. Flowers' career reached a low point in 2018 when he was downright abysmal and an obvious liability on the Giants' offensive line. No better captured than by his desperate attempt to trip Jacksonville's Calais Campbell after he'd been beaten in pass protection in his final season as a Giant.
Personal foul, tripping, offense, number 74.
There is a second act to Flowers' career, though. The lineman landed in Washington and transitioned to guard, where he's found much more success thanks to being left on a pass-protecting island much less.
With the 10th pick, the St. Louis Rams select Todd Gurley.
5 stars. Gurley came out of Georgia with injury concerns after he suffered a torn ACL in college, but he put those to bed with his explosive rookie campaign. When the Rams moved to Los Angeles, Gurley was the face of the team and lived up to that status, earning NFL Offensive Player of the Year honors in 2017 as the Rams raced to the NFC Championship.
Gurley has a screen at the 20. 15-10. Goes over the top.
Gurley has tailed off since then due to injury issues and workload management, but he's still been a 3-time Pro Bowler and a 2-time first-team All-Pro. The Rams hit a home run with this pick.
With the 11th pick, the Minnesota Vikings select Trae Wayne.
2.5 stars. Wayne's filled a need for the Vikings at the time, but he never fully blossomed into the corner the Vikings thought they were getting.
Intercepted on the tip, Trae Wayne.
Minnesota's defense hasn't exactly suffered, but the Vikings' investment of another high pick in Mike Hughes a few years later serves as proof that they too knew they didn't hit on this one.
With the 12th pick, the Cleveland Browns select Danny Shelton.
1.5 stars. The Browns didn't entirely whiff on this pick, but Shelton has never proven to be worth a first-round selection. The defensive tackle was forced to attempt to develop amid seemingly constant change in Cleveland, playing for multiple head coaching regimes and battling a wrist injury before he was dealt to New England with a 5th-round pick in exchange for a 3rd-rounder.
He pumps and he spins with the ball knocked loose by Shelton.
Amazingly, Shelton wasn't Cleveland's worst pick in this draft. We'll get to that later.
With the 13th pick, the New Orleans Saints select Andrus Peat.
5 stars. The Saints found a rock-solid lineman with this selection, and even though Peat was listed as a tackle coming out of Stanford, he's since blossomed into a 2-time Pro Bowl guard for New Orleans. Paired with Arik Armstead on the left side, Peat has helped protect Drew Brees and open running lanes for Alvin Kamara and company.
Handoff goes Kamara, has a huge seam up the middle, and walks into the end zone. Really nice job up front.
Peat has served as 1/5 of a formidable offensive line for the Saints. Mickey Loomis can hang this selection on his wall and admire it whenever he pleases.
With the 14th pick, the Miami Dolphins select Devante Parker.
3.5 stars. Miami needed a taller receiver to pair with Jarvis Landry and went after the one with arguably the highest upside coming out of college. But Parker's 2 familiar injury struggles undercut much of his rookie contract. It wasn't until 2019 that Parker finally broke out and proved himself worthy of a 1st-round pick, which came long after Miami shipped out Landry and many other key contributors.
Flips it downfield and is caught by Devante Parker.
Parker earned himself a nice payday with his play in 2019 and stands to be Miami's #1 target for years to come, but it wasn't exactly a slam dunk.
With the 15th pick, the San Diego Chargers select Melvin Gordon.
4.5 stars. Gordon isn't Gurley, but he's been a darn good running back for the Chargers, and they picked him up 5 picks after Gurley. When healthy, Gordon is a constant threat as a runner and a pass catcher, racking up over 6,100 all-purpose yards and 47 touchdowns in his first 5 seasons.
Trucks a man into the goal line, waiting for a signal. Touchdown, Charger!
Gordon didn't score on the ground in his rookie year, but punched it in 8 to 10 times a season for the next 4. And he made 2 Pro Bowls over his first 5 years.
With the 16th pick, the Houston Texans select Kevin Johnson.
2 stars. Johnson was worthy of a first-round pick, but couldn't stay healthy long enough to truly prove it. Johnson appeared in 35 of a possible 64 games, dealing with knee and foot injuries and multiple concussions that kept him off the field for nearly half of his first 4 years of NFL service.
Airs it out downfield, and it's picked off by Kevin Johnson.
Though Houston picked up his 5th-year option in 2018, the Texans decided his health struggles were too much to keep him, cutting him in March of 2019 before he could attempt to play his 5th season in Houston. Oddly enough, Johnson landed in Buffalo in 2019, where he appeared in all 16 games.
With the 17th pick, the San Francisco 49ers select Arik Armstead.
3.5 stars. Armstead didn't produce like one might expect a first-round pick to play in his first few years, but he finally broke out in a big way in 2019, recording a team-best 10 sacks.
Buried from behind by Arik Armstead.
Thanks to the heavy investment in the defensive line made by the front office, Armstead and company flourished, harassing opposing passers all season. Armstead picked the perfect time, a contract season, to finally produce his best year.
With the 18th pick, the Kansas City Chiefs select Marcus Peters.
4 stars. Peters was an immediate factor in Kansas City's defense, making the Pro Bowl twice in his first 2 professional seasons. His 19 interceptions made the Chiefs front office look like fortune tellers, but they didn't foresee his personality issues becoming an issue the way they did, and that ultimately got him shipped to Los Angeles. Peters played well in Los Angeles, but the Rams traded him away to clear space for Jalen Ramsey to arrive via a separate deal. It ended up not being an indicator of his own performance, as Peters succeeded in Baltimore enough to earn a 3rd trip to the Pro Bowl in 2019.
Picked off and going to the house. It's Marcus Peters.
The pick itself was a solid choice, even if Peters didn't hang around for too long.
With the 19th pick, the Cleveland Browns select Cameron Irving.
1/2 star. Irving was picked to play center, then quickly proved he wasn't physically capable of battling in the NFL trenches. His versatility, demonstrated by him moving from center to tackle at Florida State, couldn't buy him additional time to work out the kinks in Cleveland. And organizational instability didn't help either. Considering the Browns could have taken Andrus Peat with their earlier pick, or LaAdrian Tomlinson here, it's a bad pick. It's a complete whiff, as Irving was traded to Kansas City for a 5th-round pick just 2 years later. He's now a Super Bowl champion, earned largely in a reserve role.
With the 20th pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select Nelson Agholor.
3 stars. Agholor hasn't fully lived up to the first-round pick status, but he has proven valuable, especially in his best season of 2017. Agholor has 2 seasons of at least 700 receiving yards, 2017 and 2018, and has 2,515 career receiving yards to go along with 18 touchdowns.
He is going deep for Agholor, who catches it at the 5. Touchdown!
He's often drawn the ire of Eagles fans because of his first-round status in what was ultimately not the best wide receiver class. It's easy to think Philadelphia would much rather have Tyler Lockett, but Agholor hasn't been horrible. He just hasn't been a number 1 pass catcher, which is what a team hopes it's getting with a first-round pick.
With the 21st pick, the Cincinnati Bengals select Cedric Bowie.
1/2 star. This class didn't produce a ton of stellar offensive linemen in the first round, but the Bengals swung and missed here. Cincinnati tried its best to find a spot for Bowie, starting him at right tackle before eventually moving him to left, where he was even worse and suffered a torn rotator cuff. That was the theme for Bowie in Cincinnati: struggles and injuries, with the latter beginning before he even reached the NFL. He never made it to his 5th year in Cincinnati, as the Bengals declined his option after he proved he wasn't the future at left tackle following Andrew Whitworth's departure for Los Angeles.
With the 22nd pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Bud Dupree.
3.5 stars. Dupree was largely a disappointment with the Steelers until 2019, but might end up earning himself a healthy payday thanks to his best season as a pro being his most recent.
Bud Dupree ran right up his back.
Dupree undoubtedly benefited from playing opposite TJ Watt, breaking double-digit sacks for the first time in his career with 11.5 to go along with 68 tackles, 4 forced fumbles, and 3 passes defended. The Steelers get an above-average grade because of this season, but it sure took a while.
With the 23rd pick, the Denver Broncos select Shane Ray.
2 stars. Ray put up decent numbers in his first 2 seasons, totaling 12 sacks combined.
He is hit and down he goes. That is Shane Ray.
But he just couldn't stay on the field long enough to make a difference. A problematic wrist issue limited him to just 19 games over his final 2 seasons, and convinced the Broncos it wouldn't be wise to pick up his 5th-year option. He won a Super Bowl with the team in 2015, but he's currently unemployed, seeing his last NFL action during the 2019 preseason before he was cut by Baltimore.
With the 24th pick, the Arizona Cardinals select DJ Humphries.
3.5 stars. Humphries hasn't grown into a franchise tackle, but he did receive a contract extension recently as the Cardinals decided to take a risk on him instead of starting over with someone else at the position. In a league with a shortage of quality linemen, Humphries' extension might be more self-serving than anything at this point, but it could provide the additional time needed for the linemen to prove them right. He got a second contract, which is more than some of his first-round classmates can say, so he's got that going for him, which is nice.
With the 25th pick, the Carolina Panthers select LeighShaq Thompson.
4 stars. Thompson landed in a fortunate situation when he was able to play alongside Luke Kuechly in Carolina's linebacking core, which took some of the typical first-round pick burden off of him. He's played well, recording 345 tackles, 9.5 sacks, 12 passes defended, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 interception in 5 seasons.
Beautiful day out here. Game day. Homecoming. Time to turn up, baby. Pass the defense.
That was enough to earn him a healthy 4-year extension. And while he's not an All-Pro or a Pro Bowler, he's been a solid defender.
With the 26th pick, the Baltimore Ravens select Prashad Perriman.
1 star. Yikes. Perriman was drafted to provide Joe Flacco with a burner in the passing game, but he forgot his hands at UCF. Perriman struggled with drops throughout his entire Ravens career and was even worse in terms of production, becoming one of just 5 receivers drafted in the first round to play in at least 25 games and record less than 45 receptions. Ravens fans grew to dislike him enough to heckle him at his own team's facility during training camp practices, and he was eventually cut by Baltimore after 3 seasons. He enjoyed a rebound of sorts in Cleveland before signing a 1-year deal in Tampa, where he posted his best season of his career.
Caught ball, touchdown Tampa Bay, Prashad Perriman.
Catching 36 passes for 645 yards and 6 touchdowns in 2019.
With the 27th pick, the Dallas Cowboys select Byron Jones.
4.5 stars. Jones has never been a big turnover producer, but he's been a starting caliber cornerback during the majority of his career.
Is swatted away in the air by Byron Jones.
Jones made the Pro Bowl in 2018 after logging a career-high 14 passes defended, and currently owns 44 of those to go along with 2 interceptions.
With the 28th pick, the Detroit Lions select LaAdrian Tomlinson.
3.5 stars. Tomlinson has never been the rock-solid guard a team hopes it's getting when it spends a first-round pick on a lineman, but he's proven to be worth a contract extension and starting snaps for the defending NFC champions. Detroit didn't get much of a return for Tomlinson when it shipped him west for a 5th rounder, but he's been worth the minor investment for the 49ers, who retained him in 2018 on a team-friendly 3-year deal. He gets his stars because of his production in San Francisco, which the Lions were never able to enjoy.
With the 29th pick, the Indianapolis Colts select Phillip Dorsett.
2 stars. Dorsett was supposed to be the deep threat Andrew Luck needed in Indianapolis, but that marriage never got off the ground before the Colts quickly pulled the plug on the entire experiment because they needed a quarterback more than a diminutive speedster. Dorsett has recorded over 1,600 receiving yards and visited the end zone 11 times in his 5 seasons.
Gonna throw a long ball to a wide open Dorsett. Touchdown, Patriots!
But he'll best be remembered as the player who helped the Colts land Jacoby Brissett in a time of need.
With the 30th pick, the Green Bay Packers select Marius Randall.
4 stars. Randall quickly became Green Bay's best defensive back, even as he was playing out of position. He wore out his welcome in Wisconsin, though, and was shipped to Cleveland, where he moved to safety and flourished in his first season.
Nice play in the end zone by Marius Randall.
Injuries limited him in 2019, a contract year, so his future is uncertain. But when healthy and in the right position, Randall is an impact player who is worth the first rounder.
With the 31st pick, the New Orleans Saints select Stephan Anthony.
2 stars. Anthony has seen some things. He was a standout as a rookie, making Pro Football Focus's all-rookie team in 2015.
Stephan Anthony comes down to get him.
But his career has been a winding, twisting roller coaster ever since then. Anthony struggled with a switch to the strong side of the defense, was traded to Miami for a fifth-rounder, found no success in South Florida, bounced around a few teams, and eventually landed back with the Saints. He proved as a rookie he was worth a pick, but perhaps a mishandling of him has sent his career spiraling downward, far from first-round status.
With the 32nd pick, the New England Patriots select Malcolm Brown.
3 stars. Brown has been a serviceable defensive tackle in the NFL, and New England's decision to move on from him wasn't so much an indictment of him as it was the Patriots acquiring a better option in Danny Shelton. Brown has been steady, not great, but reliable, and is a nice depth piece for the Saints' defensive line. There are my 2015 first-round reviews. I know you probably have your own, so go ahead and get the debates going. Leave those in the comments section. Now, we leave with a look at what your team might have passed on. Guys who probably should have gone much earlier than they did.
He's going to throw one toward the end zone. The pass is intercepted by Landon Collins.
Flushed out. Preston Smith's going to get him for a sack. Preston Smith gets to him, his second sack of the year.
Pocket starts to close. Here comes pressure, and down he goes. Eddie Goldman sacks Derek Carr.
Hasselbeck with time. Here's the rush. Hasselbeck is sacked near the goal line as Benardrick McKinney drops him at the 1.
He eludes the pressure, but then is sacked by Eric Kendricks. Second sack for the rookie from UCLA.
5-5 just came down. I let him hit me. I knew we were getting one. That was perfect.
Snap to Foles, a 4-man rush. Foles hit, and Foles goes down. Golden there for Arizona.
Here comes the rush. He gets hit. He goes down. Roethlisberger sacked again. Coming off the backside, it's Frank Clark.
Lockett standing all the way back at his own 43, makes the catch, has running through midfield.
Are you kidding me? Touchdown!
Ryan will hand to Coleman, trying to get outside. Touchdown, Tevin Coleman. Tevin Coleman gets his first NFL touchdown.
And firing towards the end zone. Touchdown! He gets it in there, and the Duke's got it. The rookie out of Miami.
Pitch to David Johnson, running left, gets a block at the 10, to the 5. Touchdown for David Johnson, the rookie.
And he is sacked by rookie Donnell Hunter, loss of 3. First sack of his National Football League career.
Spun down, that's the second sack of the night for Trey Flowers.
Big.
First man to the quarterback.
His left has time, now he's going to be tripped up and sacked. Zadarius Smith, the rookie from Kentucky.
To his right, gets the pass. It's picked off. Intercepted to the 30, to the 25, to the 20. Quan Alexander will take it to the house. Touchdown, Tampa Bay.
Wants to throw, pressure coming, a sack. Grady Jarrett
winds up, throws the comeback, far side of the field. It is intercepted and escorted in for the touchdown.
Teddy looks left, fires, caught. Stefon Diggs, and touchdown! Stefon Diggs!
Wants to throw, looks, throws, picked off, intercepted by the Lions, Quandre Diggs. Quandre Diggs stepped in front of it.
Pumps once, fires in the back of the end zone. He's got a man. Touchdown, Darren Waller.